Hi everyone, you're welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Precious. All right, please kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel if this is your first time of seeing our videos. So in this video, we want to look at the concept of a parabola. We've been on conic sections. We've seen the circles, the ellipse, the hyperbola, and then we now have a parabola. All right, so this is the nature of a parabola. The diagram you can see is a conic section, it's a curve, and it can open in four different directions. It can open upward, it can also open downward, it can open towards the right and towards the left. And so in our next video, I'm going to show you how to know the direction it will open. So now there are a few things we need to study under parabola. The first, we need to know about the focus. This is the focus. This other dot black here is the vertex V. Now the distance from the vertex to the focus is C. Okay, this other straight horizontal line is called the directrix. Okay, so this is the directrix of the parabola. Now one common feature here is that the distance between the directrix and the vertex is always equal to the distance from the vertex to the focus. Okay, so and that's why you have this distance is C, and it's also C here. Okay, now the coordinate of the vectors is given as v equal to h comma k. Now you recall that in all other conic sections that we have seen, your h comma k stands for the center. Now, but in this case, there is no center because you just have only one curve, and so the v represent the h comma k stands for the vertex. That's the coordinate of this point v. Okay, so other things that we will also see in the later video is how to find the equation of the directrix. Now, for a parabola, there are two major types or forms of equation, just as you have for other conic sections. The first is the general form, and it takes the general form of a quadratic equation, and that's what we have here. And we're going to see how that is, because for any standard form equation, you can actually write it in the general form. And now this is the standard form. So the general form is y equal to ax squared plus bx plus c, where a, b, c are constants. Okay, so y, the general form, is actually of two types. Now it can either be y minus k equal to a into bracket x minus h all squared. The squared can either be on x or on on y. So it can also be this way. You can have x minus h to be equal to a into y minus k then all squared. Okay, so and this is actually what determines whether it goes up or down. So for whether it opens upward and downward or left and right. Now, if the equation is of this form, your curve, the parabola, will open towards either left or right, depending on the nature of your A. We'll still see that one in our later video. However, if it is of this first form I wrote here, then it opens upward or downward, also depending on the value A. Okay, so meanwhile, this particular equation can also be written in other forms. Remember here I said that A is equal to 1 all over 4c, and this c is the c that is found in this diagram here. Okay, so and from here, if I substitute that, I'm going to get that my y minus k is equal to 1 all over 4c, and that's multiplied by x minus h all squared. And so when I multiply both sides by 4c, I am going to get that 4c into y minus k is equal to x minus h all squared. Okay, so this is also another way of writing this particular equation. And I can as well do the same for this other one. So in each case, it's actually the same. Okay, so the implication is that you can find the equation of a parabola if we are given one, the vertex of the parabola and then your c. When you have these two information, you will be able to find the equation of your parabola. And then you can also find that if you are given your vertex and your a, if they give us the value of a, we can also find the equation of our parabola. All right, so I noted here that all these a, b, c, k, and h are actually constants. Okay, so let's see some examples. Now look at this. It says determine the equation of the parabola given that a, the vertex is minus 3 comma 2, and then the c is given as 1 over 4. Okay, so assuming we decide to use that first form, which is y minus k. Okay, so what then is our k? Our k is the the y coordinate. The y coordinate here is 2. So you are having y minus 2 is equal to 1 all over 4 multiplied by your c, which is 1 over 4, and that is times x minus our h is minus 3. Okay, so all is raised to the power of 2. Okay, so from here we will have y minus 2 is equal to, of course, 4 will cancel 4 here to give you 1. So 1 over 1 is also 1. So we just have x plus, because minus minus is plus, plus 3 all raised to the power of 2. We can actually leave this equation in this form, that's the standard form, or we can open the bracket to get the general form. Let's quickly do that. So we are going to have y minus 2 is equal to, this is going to give us x squared. So if we take every other thing to this other constant to the right hand side, we'll have that y is equal to x squared. So from here now, you can see that this is actually in the form of the quadratic equation that we talked about. That's the general form of your equation here. All right. So, and you can see the value of your a. It means that in this case, our a is equal to 1, the coefficient of x. Our b is equal to 6. Sorry, the coefficient of x squared is our a. B is 6, and then our c is 11. Now we can look at the second example. Here they ask us to find the equation if the vertex is this way. So if we write our equation the same way, y minus k is equal to, in this case we just use a since we are given our a. So a into the bracket of x minus h all squared. And this is going to give us y is equal to a is negative 2 into the bracket of x minus our h, which is 3, and that is all squared, which is going to give us our y as plus half, and that is equal to minus 2 into the bracket. If we open this bracket, we will have, okay, and so we would open the bracket on the left, sorry, on the right, and that will give us y plus half is equal to minus 2x squared, and that is our solution. Then we can take our half to the other side, which will give us minus 2x squared. So if we want, we can multiply through by 2 to remove the decimal. But of course, this is also a good place to stop. And that is the equation of this parabola as requested. Meanwhile, note that for these examples, we are assuming that our parabola opens either upwards or downwards. So we are using the first equation that I wrote here, which is this one. That's the one we are using. Okay, so in other words, if you are given just your vertex and your c, you can choose if they did not indicate to which side that the parabola opens. So but if they indicate that it opens left or right, then you make use of this. However, if they don't, you can always use this other one. Okay, so let's look at other examples we have here. Now this one says that we should find the vertex intercept and then the c for the following parabolas. Okay, so in other words, you can also find the intercept of your parabola. And how do you do that? Very simple. If you want to find the intercept, if it is the y-intercept, all you need to do, I already discussed this when I talked about straight lines. All you need to do is to make your x 0. At the point where your x is 0, that is where you have your y-intercept. Whatever your y is at that point is your y-intercept. And if you want to find the x-intercept, you will make your y 0. So I am going to start now. So for uh, example A here, to get my vertex, all I need to do is, of course, it's already in the general form. So I only move this constant to the other side, and that's going to give me y plus 1 is equal to, okay, so remember that the general or the standard form is like this: y minus k is equal to a into x minus h all squared. So how do I get my h here? I'll just come here and make everything here to be negative. And then how do I get my k? I will also make everything here to be negative. Okay, so if I take the negative of 1, that means my k is minus 1. And then my h is also minus 1. Therefore, the vertex for this parabola is simply equal to negative 1 comma negative 1, and that's your answer. Okay, so if I now want to find the intercept, so the intercept, remember, from the equation we are given that y is equal to minus 2 into x plus 1 all squared and minus 1. So to get the y-intercept, I will make my x to be 0. Let my x be 0. So y-intercept is going to be, let me write it this way, is going to be equal to negative 2 into, of course, if this is 0, then you only have 1 squared, and that is minus 1. 1 squared is 1, times minus 2 is minus 2, then minus 1. So your y-intercept is negative 3. Okay, and what about your x-intercept? Sorry. So for your x-intercept, make your y 0. So let our y be 0. So if my y becomes 0, then I'll have 0 is equal to minus 2 all into x plus 1 all squared, then minus 1. So let the minus 1 go to the other side. And so I'm going to have plus 1 is equal to minus 2 into x plus 1 all squared. Divide both sides by minus 2. So I will have minus 1 over 2 is equal to only x plus 1 here all squared. Okay, so what do I do next? The square root of minus half, and that is equal to x plus 1. Okay, so and that is leading us into complex numbers. So our x alone will be equal to, let your 1 come over. So you have the square root of minus half, then minus 1. So the implication is that our x-intercept is going to be equal to, okay, let me write it this way also. X-intercept is simply equal to, if I put this in a complex number form, that's going to give me your square root of minus 1 will become I. So I'm going to have the square root of half, then I behind it, then minus 1. And that is my x-intercept, okay, as required. So we've been able to do that for number 2A here. Okay, so how do we then get your C? Remember that our A is equal to 1 all over 4C. And from here, you can see that your A is negative 2. So it means that negative 2 is equal to 1 all over 4C. So if we cross multiply, this is also over 1. So if we cross multiply, we'll have negative 8c to be equal to 1. Therefore, our c alone is negative 1 all over 8. And so that is the c for example A. and we have the y-intercept, we have the vertex, and we have the x-intercept here. So, and I'm going to allow you to do for the second example, find the vertex, the intercept, and the c for the parabolas. Now, but of course, because that this is leading us to complex numbers, and we know that we are having our parabola on the Cartesian plane, which deals with real numbers. So what it means is that there is no x-intercept. So since it's leading us to complex numbers, so we didn't even need to go here. So it means that the parabola did not intercept the x-axis. It only intercepted the y-axis. Okay, so let's look at other examples. The same thing, they're asking us to find the vertices, the intercept, and then the c for this other one. So I will again do c, example c, and maybe example d, and I'll allow you do e. Okay, so let's quickly do for this. So for vertex, our vertex here is going to be what? Bring your minus your 5 to this side. Your y will now be y minus 5 is equal to minus x plus 1 all squared. Okay, so from here immediately we will see that our vertex is, of course, the k part of it is already negative. So your k is just the number there, which is 5. What about your h? Your h will now be the negative of this, which is negative 1. So our h is negative 1 and our k is 5, and that is the vertex. Okay, the second one, the intercept, we can get our y-intercept, and our y-intercept will be equal to, make this to be 0, and that will give us 1 squared. So we have minus 1 squared plus 5, which is actually equal to 4. That's our y-intercept. And can we get x-intercept? If you look at it, if we make our, okay, for x-intercept, let's do it this way. So we make our y 0, and we will have 0 is equal to minus x plus 1 all squared plus 5. So let the 5 go to the other side. That will be minus 5 is equal to minus x plus 1 all squared. So this minus will take away this minus, and so we have 5 alone. And then if this square comes over, it becomes the square root of 5, and that is equal to x plus 1. Therefore, our x-intercept is simply equal to the square root of 5. 1 coming over here becomes negative 1, and that is our x-intercept. So what about we have gotten the x-intercept. What about the c? We are also asked to find the c for that example c. Okay, so for the c, remember the relationship, your a is equal to 1 all over 4c. So that means, and our a for that example is just the coefficient of this, which is negative 1. Okay, so if we put that here, we have negative 1 is equal to 1 all over 4c. Hence, if we cross multiply, we will have that negative 4c is equal to 1. Therefore, our c alone is negative 1 all over 4. Okay, so that has given us all that is required. And finally, for the one I'm going to handle, we will see for this other one. This is beautiful. You can see nothing is subtracted, nothing for x and also for y. That means they are all coming from the origin. So very simple here. Your vertex is equal to 0 comma 0. So that's just that for this. And from here you can see the square is on y. That means this parabola will open on the either the left or the right, which, like I said, we're going to see later how to determine that. So the next one is the y-intercept. What's going to be the y-intercept? Make your x to be 0. If you do that, you're going to have 0 here, and then this coming over here will be negative 1, and the square root of -1 is a complex number, so it does not exist. There is no y-intercept. What about the x-intercept? So the x-intercept, make y 0. If we make y 0, 0 squared is 0 plus 1 will give us 1. So that is our x-intercept. And finally, for the c, remember that your a is equal to 1 all over 4c. And in this case, your a is a coefficient of y squared, which is 1. And that is equal to 1 over 4c. So if we cross multiply, we will get that 4c is equal to 1. Therefore, our c alone is 1 all over 4. Okay, and that is that about the introduction to the concept of parabola and its equations. You recall that I said that the equation of parabola is of two forms, the standard and the general. The general is just basically the quadratic general form of equation, and every parabola by the diagrammatic representation has some features: the vertex, the focus, the c, which is the distance between the vertex and the focus, or the directrix, which is the horizontal line that is below your vertex. Okay, so we said that the coordinate of the vertex is h comma k. We said that a is equal to 1 all over 4c, where a, b, c, k, and h are all constants. And then we have some examples on how to find the equation of a parabola, giving some information such as the vertex and your c, and then other things. This is where we'll end it for this video. Kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel. Do give a thumbs up to this video. We'll see you in our next video. Bye.